Guys, gals, non-binary pals, Liam here. Some of you call me Liam, or Lee, or Lee, or DJ Nexus, or hey, it's that guy with the physics cock ASA here to help you because I promised all of you that I would make a video about how to move to Firestorm AO. Here's what you do. You're going to take the HUD that you're currently wearing. I was using Vista, Girard, Bento, No Face. And you're going to drag your HUD right onto the ground right in front of you. Make sure that you drag it out onto a prim or mainland ground. Don't put it on mesh because it might go missing on you or end up in your lost and found. So I just put a prim out, textured it real nice for the sake of the video. And just give it a second, and then you're going to right click on it, hit edit, and then you're going to go to the contents tab. And what we're going to do now is we're going to click the very first thing in here. And then we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom. And if you're using a Windows PC, you're going to hold the Shift button down on your computer. And then you're going to click the last thing so that it selects everything. And what I did in my AO folder was I created a new folder and I just called it Animations from AO. I also put in a note card that says ignore this, so obviously ignore that. But now that we've got everything selected, we're just going to click in here, and when you click, hold down that click, and we're going to drag it right on into, if my viewer would cooperate, we're going to drag it right into this folder we made called Animations from AO. So make sure that you take everything, drag it, drop it into that folder. You're going to see everything ended up in there beautifully. And what we can do now is we can close out our edit box. We can right click on our HUD on the ground. We can delete that bad boy. The next thing that I did to get my Firestorm AO set up, and this was actually quite easy, I put in here the toolbar button for Firestorm's AO. And if you don't have that, all you have to do, if you're using any of these on the bottom or on the side, just right click, toolbar buttons, and you'll see animation override. You just click that, hold down that click, drag it to the side or up or down or wherever you'd like your button to be for your AO and Firestorm. Once you do that, you can just close that out if you wish. You can also drag over the ground sit. I tend to use ground sit from time to time when I'm waiting for a friend who's being very slow at making a decision when we go shopping or anything else. So the ground sit comes in handy. So once you do that, again, take your animation override button, drag it over, and take that ground sit, drag that over too. And you can close that box out. The next thing I did was the Vista AO is powered by a note card. A lot of AOs are powered by a note card that tells the scripts in the AO HUD what animations to read, where to put them, and how to read them. So what you want to do is go through this folder that we just made where we brought over all of our animations and all that other crap. And you can just delete these note cards. I don't use the dances. These objects, these res balls, you don't need those. Say goodbye to the scripts. You don't need those anymore. So just you can do this on your own time, but you just want to make sure that in your folder that you made that you have just the animations listed in that folder, just to make life a little bit easier for you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to click on the Firestorm AO. And there's my AO, but because you're probably new and moving to Firestorm AO, or you'd like to, we're going to create a new animation set, and I'm going to call this training. Kind of kinky, I guess, with the right crowd. So once you do that, it's going to load that new set in there for you. So we just give that a second. And you'll find that in your drop-down training. And we want to make this our default AO. So you're going to want to hit that default box and it'll gray itself out. The next thing you want to do is you see in this drop down you have all these categories: standing, walking, running, sitting, flying down, flying up, flying slow. We have to put the animation, now this seems really terrible, but it's actually quite easy. We have to just take our animations from here, move them over here. Don't take all of them at once and drop them all in standing or another category. That is not going to work and you're going to look very funny. But what you want to do is you want to open up that note card that you got, because this note card is going to be your best friend. And so the way that the animations are loaded here is you see standing calm, standing mode 1, standing mode 1, standing mode 2 is how Vista had their animations coded in their note card. So what I did was I looked at the schema. This is going to be the name of the animation in your inventory. And I said, well, VAGERST appears to be the way that they're naming things for their stands. So what we're going to do in our inventory is just do VAGERST, and it looks like we've got pretty much all of the standing animations here, 1 through 28, are right here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click the first one, scroll all the way to the bottom, hold down that shift button on your keyboard, click the last animation there, and we're just going to take these, we're going to drop them right into the standing category. Now, I have noticed sometimes when doing this that after dragging them over and dropping them, that they didn't appear. It appears to be some kind of a glitch, and I've made the Firestorm folks aware of it. But for now, if that happens to you and you don't see anything in here, just drag and drop them back over. Not a big deal. Now that you've got your stands loaded, we don't want to confuse ourselves. So we'll go to our note card, which is mod, and we're just going to delete all of those standing animations that we just moved, because we want to work on one category at a time. And in our AO, we want to do something, at least this is personal preference, but this is just me. I always want to cycle it, and I want to randomize the stands that are played. And I tend to like to have my stands, I like static poses with breathing. These can be a little active for me. So what you want to do is you want to cycle through all the different animations in here so you're not using the same stand over and over and over again. And you're going to want to randomize that order so that you're getting something unique every time that the animation is changed. And so what you do at this point is we've loaded our animations, we've told them to cycle, and we've randomized the order. How much time do you want each stand to have? Well, here I just did 240 seconds, which, if my math is right, that's about 4 minutes. So every 4 minutes my stand will change. Whenever you make a change like this or you add new animations in, you just want to hit reload. And we'll take a look here at my Avi. We'll walk a little bit. Oh, the one thing I forgot to mention, when you are ready to start testing this, click this white check mark to activate that AO. So you click that white check mark, hit reload. I find that if you walk a little bit, that'll do it. And then the other thing is, in your viewer, after you close that box, you need to have that white check mark in that box. So just walk forward a touch, and you can see that my avatar is indeed standing just fine, and certainly as intended. If you want to change your stand, you just click on your AO box, click that arrow. Oh, look, my nipples are popping out. Change that arrow, and then we'll take these off so I don't look like a complete idiot. Take these off, and now I look normal. So I'm standing, and these arrows will allow you to, on demand, move from one stand to the next. Otherwise, if you just leave your AO alone for however many seconds you set it to, that's how often that's going to change your stands for you. So we've got the stands done. I'm going to uncheck this box. This turns off the AO. So I go back to using that really hot system AO, if we want to even call it that. So we'll move to the next category, walking. So it looks like in the animation note card, Vager, or VAGERWLK, is the schema. So I'll just change this, VAGERWLK, and that's all of the walking animations, 1 through 6. I'm just going to select all these. Again, click the first one with your mouse, hold down that shift button, and click the last one. And then you're going to drag all these over to walking. Let it load. While it's doing that, I'm just going to delete this category. And boom, we've got our walks in there. Again, we made a change. So we want to cycle the different walking animations, and you might want to randomize that order that it plays the animations in as well. And I don't necessarily know that it matters, but I just set it to 240 just to be safe. And you're going to hit reload. So it reloads that set for you. Come back out here. Click that white AO button. I find that sometimes I remain in that system kind of look until I move my obby just a touch, and then he's normal. So if you look, we're walking. We've got our walks in there now. No more ugly system walking. And this will rotate for you just like the stands will. So boom, you've got your walks. And I'm going to go back in now, and again, we're going to change things. So I'm going to turn off the AO. And sitting. Sitting is the next category that we're going to do. So sitting. And it looks like the animations have the same schema, I'll call it. VAGERSIT01. So I'll just leave that VAGERSIT. And we've got sit 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is important because of ground sits. So let's only take the sits 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, click that first one, hold down your shift button, click the last one, and let's drop these in the AO. And again, while that's doing that, I'm going to delete this row because I don't want to confuse myself. Not that I would. I don't want to confuse you. Same thing here for sits. You can cycle, randomize the order, and you can certainly add that time again and reload. Next category for us is sitting on ground. We see in our animation note card here that the schema for these is a little different. It's still the sit, VAGERSIT, but there's a G there. So all we're going to do here is do VAGERSIT G. And it looks like we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1. So we're going to take 1. Now you're going to click this first one. You're going to hold down the Control button on your keyboard. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're just going to take those, drop them into our note card. I'm going to delete this line. I am sure that the S and the T stand for either short obby or tall obby. You can test those out. I'm not going to. I don't fuck with that. But if you'd like to test those out, by all means, feel free. I don't really care what they do. So as you can see, we've got our sits. Again, we're going to want to cycle these, randomize the order, and I just set a time. You guys don't have to. These are sits. It's not like a standing animation where it's active all the time. But cycle through them, randomize those every 240, and hit reload. And you'll notice earlier when I told you to bring that ground sit button over, and I'll show you how to do that again. Right-click, toolbar buttons, ground sit, and just click it, hold that click, drag it over, boom, you'll have it there. And so now we have to turn on our AO, so we're going to check this little box. I like to walk forward because I don't like looking ugly. And so now we're going to try our ground sit button. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Look at that. Works like a charm. And if I move from one to the other, pardon my stuff in the way, it cycles on through the different ground sits. And you can add ground sits. You know, if you have another AO or if you have poses that you really like from a creator like Fox City or something and you want to use those, by all means, you can absolutely drop those in here and use those in your AO. I just tend to stick with what is in the AO because that's just what I do. But anyways, so you're going to do the same thing for every category, and Vista does a nice job. I don't see this all the time, but Vista does a nice job of really matching really what the system reads. For crouching, we're going to take our crouching animations. We're going to search that crouching animation, VAGERCR, into our inventory, pull it out, drag drop it right on over. For crouch walking, same thing. They've got it right here, crouch walking. Just look for that VAGERCRW. Take that animation, boom, drag it right on in there. Make sure that when you go through your flying areas, and I'll tell you that the order here in the Firestorm AO is not going to be the same order as what's in the Vista note card. Just make sure you're matching up what is said in orange or, you know, like flying down. Make sure that flying down you're looking at flying down here. You don't want to be saying, oh, flying down, and flying up. Let's take the flying down animation, put it in the flying up. No, make sure you're paying attention. 99% of the problems that I encounter with people are because of the negligence of not double checking. So take your time. This isn't complicated. It's just tedious because the first time you do it is always the worst. So make sure you put your flying down in the flying down, your flying up animation in your flying up category, your flying slow in your flying slow category, and your flying in your flying category. Same thing with jumping. You've got jumping, pre-jumping, hovering, same thing here. Jumping, pre-jumping. And we've got, now they don't call it hovering, they call it floating. But this is hovering. So just use your noodle, you'll figure it out. But again, jumping, pre-jumping, turning, another thing. Turning right, turning left. Make sure you're matching that up with turning right and turning left. I know you guys can do it. If you have any questions, I'd say feel free to reach out, but I'm not always available. But you can certainly try. Otherwise, there's a ton of resources online as far as how to use the Firestorm AO and how to load it. But at the very least, I hope this video has been helpful to you.